Hello and welcome to the next video in the series of developing BrickBreaker. Now, as you can see, my game has changed tenfold. I've added quite a few planets that act as bricks. I've also created some special planets, and you'll see just what they do after. In today's video, we are going to learn how to end the game when the ball goes below the barrier. So when the ball is not touched by the paddle and it goes beneath, the game should end. The ball shouldn't just bounce up. So let's demonstrate what my game does now. Still added the sounds. See, that was a little bit too quick. Maybe we'll do that one more time. So it's bouncing. You can see the special paddles, special bricks, sorry. Score goes up. Now you'll see when I don't touch the ball, it ends and you get that ridiculous music that keeps playing over and over again. So now let's get started. What you need to do is open up your game from last week, and if you remember, I did ask you to verify your account so that you are able to share your game with me. Now, to share your game is very simple. Let's say I wanted to share this program, so I would just click on see inside. It's very simple. Wait for it to load. Okay, fantastic. So if you see at the top, I've pressed shared. So that means I can go back to my area and look at shared projects. And it should allow me to, exactly, so on the right hand side it says copy link. Now what you can do, you can copy this link and send it to your friends, and they can test out your game and they can look inside your code. And this will be how I want you to submit your game. So you copy the link and you can send it through Google Classroom. Now let's get started with the game. So if I go back to my file, let's see inside. Okay, now just to double check that everything is working, I'm not going to use that score, so let's delete that one. Okay, fantastic. So if I run this program, you'll see that happens, but it keeps bouncing. We need that to stop happening. Now, if you remember, the Scratch interface is based off of the X and Y coordinates. So going across is of course X, and then up and down is Y. Okay, so horizontal X, vertical is Y. We can use a script called Y position that will detect what the current position is of the ball. So what we need to do is go back to our ball script, and then what we need is to find the Y position script. Now this will always change based on what the ball's Y position is. So as the ball's moving, this Y position object is changing. So that what we also need is an operator, because what we want to do is we want to detect when the ball is below a certain number, and I'll show you a quick way of doing that. So let's put this together. If Y position is less than, now it's not going to be 50. To see what your limit should be, what I want you to do is drag your ball just below the paddle, and then here you can see at this point it's below the paddle and it's less than 150. So I'm going to say, well, it's less than minus 150. Okay, now what we need to do is do something quite clever here, and we need to fit this block somewhere inside here. Now we always use if statements when we are checking something, so let's get an if statement. So if, and we can put this in here, so if the Y position is less than minus 150, just going to put this just above here. Okay, so this is where it does get a little bit tricky, just to make sure it's in the right place. So be careful, it should not be inside of this if statement, it should be just below it. Okay, so it should be in line with the if statement. Then you have the move underneath. And then what we want it to do is, if the Y position is less than minus 150, we want to stop this script. So this will stop the ball from moving. So let's see if that works. Okay, so we can see the ball has stopped moving, which is good, but everything else hasn't. I can still move the paddle left and right, and the same music still plays. So what we now need to do is use something called a broadcast. Now what a broadcast allows you to do is it allows different objects in your game to communicate. So for example, if something happens on the ball sprite, we can check to see if that has happened on another object. So it allows our objects to communicate. So if something happens here on the ball, we can change something on the planet, or we can change something on the paddle, or we can change something on the backdrop. So what we need to do is, when the Y position is less than minus 150, we need to broadcast a new message. Okay, so think of a broadcast as one object talking to every other object in the game. Now it's not going to be here, it's going to be game over. Now you can pick any name you want. I think game over is just a sensible choice. So now, once we've broadcast game over, we can use that game over broadcast in other objects. So I'll move over to backdrops, and you can see we've still got the music playing here. If you don't have music, don't worry about it. You don't need to worry too much about this, but I'll show you both ways. If you don't have music, and there's nothing here essentially on the backdrop, you can do something like this. So you can say, when the green flag is clicked, we want to make sure we switch to backdrop game, because we want to make sure that the game backdrop is showing when the green flag is clicked. And then you want to put one of these, which is a when I receive. So when I receive game over, what needs to happen? This needs to happen. We need to create a new background. So you go over to backdrops, and we've got our original game background, but we also need another one. Now, I'm not going to choose one. Just have a quick look to see if there's anything I would like, and there's not. And there may be one, but I'm not going to spend time looking for it. I'm just going to create a very basic one that says you lose. Okay, now of course you would spend a lot more time doing this. I mean, you can do smiley faces. The possibilities are endless. Yeah, you could even give them some ears, and maybe a bit of hair as well. Okay, so we go back to code. We've got backdrop, we've got this backdrop, and we've also got this one. I would change the name of it. I would call it game over. So I would call it backdrop game over. Then we'll go back to code, and then what we want it to do is, when I receive game over, it should switch to the backdrop game over. Now let's see if this works. And you see, it's worked. The background has changed. The music has not gone away, which I'm sure you all can't stand. But now, if you have got music in your game, how can we get this to stop working? Now, what you would need to do is add to this when I receive game over. And we can go back, and then we can get a forever. Then I would also use a stop in there. So let's see if we can stop other scripts in the sprite. So we want to stop this, and we want to stop this. This should be the only script working, and then we can get forever, and then we go back to sounds, and let's see if we can find a good sound. So we can choose a sound, and I'm just going to search for lose. Remember, you can record your own sounds as well. Okay, I'll select this one and then go back to code. And then what we want to do is play this until done. So let's see if this works. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'll stop that. Now what you want to do, we can see that we've stopped the ball from moving. We've essentially ended the game, which is fantastic. And we've used operators. So we've said if Y position is less than minus 150. In the next video, you need to try, or what I want you to do before watching the video is attempt to create the U-win screen using similar scripts. Now the U-win screen would work in a similar way. However, it wouldn't be if Y position is less than minus 150. It would be if, so we use another if statement, and then we'd probably have an equals in there. And it would also be a score. So if the score equals a certain number, we want to broadcast you win. What you need to consider is what will be your maximum score. And it should be based off of how many planets you have in the game. Remember to share your work, like, comment, and subscribe.